Okay, welcome to Viana Rodriguez, a phenomenal teacher from the far reaches of southeast San Diego County at a gem of a school known as Olympian High School in the Sweetwater District. I had the pleasure of working with Viana, starting a teen court, and I asked three administrators at the administrative offices who would be the best person to talk to. And all three of them gave me your name without a moment's hesitation. So you're the first person I met working with Sweetwater, and lucky day it was. So let me just ask you, how did you get involved in restorative work? Oop. Hello?
Okay, I think I hear you. Oh, there you are.
Oh, we had a malfunction.
No worries. It happens. This technology, my goodness. Sometimes
these newfangled contraptions. I just had a little note flash. Your internet connection is unstable.
Uh-oh.
Sort of defines the last 12 months of my life. So the question was, I think pending, how did you get involved in restorative work? What was the interest or motivation?
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much again for welcoming me onto your awesome podcast. And again, just it's been such a pleasure to be able to work with you doing this super important work. So I think my involvement in restorative work really just goes back to my upbringing and me going into college and doing some self-reflection and doing some self-work, some interpersonal growth, and kind of healing from some difficulties that I experienced in my childhood and adolescent years. You know, if we look at the restorative justice kind of framework, and we see the difference between doing to as opposed to doing with. I grew up in a household where it was done to you. So very punitive, and it really affected my relationship, right, with my parents in particular. And again, it wasn't until I got into my college years where I was able to do a lot of self-reflection and just really understanding how like intergenerational trauma works and how intergenerational healing works. And I actually took a class my sophomore year on restorative justice. And I was just blown away. And this was back in, I think, 2000. And I was just really blown away by, you know, this way of being, right? As opposed to trying to punish people into being better, you can heal people into being better. And I thought, oh my goodness, yes, this is definitely true for me. And this is definitely true for what I witnessed in my community and in my high school experience with my friends and family, you know, really high incarceration rates and things of that nature. And so I truly believe in the philosophy of restorative justice. And I knew that when I got into the field of education, I really wanted to embed this into my daily practice as a teacher. And so I started off as a social science teacher, and now I have the pleasure of teaching a peer mediation course where we're able to really, really hone in on the topic of restorative justice and operate in our interventions, our nonviolent interventions, doing this wonderful work. And so that's kind of a long/short story of how I got into the field of restorative justice. It's very personal for me.
Oh, it's, the more and more I get into it, the more and more it is evident that, people's pasts definitely in this work have some kind of impact on the people who are involved. I don't know that they can be avoided. Right. And it's so, to me, it's so wonderful, talk about the concept of hope. wherever you've been, there's hope. And, and a restorative approach certainly helps people realize it, I think. So in any event, did you have a course did you suggest to the administration teaching a course in peer mediation, or was there already an existing program? How did that happen?
Yeah, so in my second year of teaching at Southwest High School, and this was back in 2006, I had the honor to be able to actually bring a student leadership program onto our campus. We were the first in our district to bring the Safe School Ambassador program to our school community. And so it's a nonprofit organization, Community Matters, out in the Bay Area. So essentially what they do is they take a diverse group of students from the different social cliques on campus and we turn them into positive leaders. We equip them with the tools that they need to be able to perform these nonviolent interventions. So, we truly believe that our students are one of our most underutilized tools and resources that we have on our campuses to make a positive difference in terms of improving school culture and climate, right? There's more students on campus than adults. And oftentimes we ignore the student voice, or we don't really listen to what our young people are telling us about how we can improve our school community. So if the problem is with the students, then the solution is with the students. So we trained about 40 students at Southwest High School back in 2006 to be Safe School Ambassadors. Again, they have the tools and strategies needed to intervene when they see acts of mistreatment. And it's all also very restorative based. And after the students were trained, we would meet during lunch or after school. And I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't enough. Like if I could just have these student leaders in a class with me so that I can work on, furthering this, youth development, leadership, because so many of them were busy, right? They weren't able to make it to the lunch or after school meetings because they were super involved with other extracurricular activities. So I was lucky enough to pitch the idea to my principal, Mr. Sid Salazar at the time. We had a teacher who had already had the peer mediation class, but he was retiring. And so there was an opening there. And I said, hey, Mr. Salazar, I have this idea, because at the time, the peer mediation program was operating in a different format. I think there were maybe about 6 students who were housed in the counseling center. And so I said, I have this idea. If I could just get, the 40 Safe School Ambassadors in this class, peer mediation, I'll develop the content and curriculum, because there was some curriculum in the district, but it wasn't something that was like fully developed. So I said, give me a chance, I'll put together, again, this curriculum. I'm pulling from different resources from my undergraduate experience and graduate experience. And so he said, yes, I'm super grateful. I said, hey, if it doesn't work, we can change it next year, but just give me a chance. And I'm so happy that he gave me the thumbs up. And here we are, years later. We now have 6 sections of peer mediation at Olympian High School. And we have 3 kind of, not phases, but 3 different components of the program. So we have an intro class, an advanced class, and then we have our peer counselors who are in the counseling center. So it's truly a dream come true for me to have had a principal who supported me. And now, as when I transitioned to Olympian High School, same situation. We had a program in place, but the teacher at the time, she actually moved into a different position. She got a promotion. And so the class opportunity was left open. And so I asked my new principal at Olympian to give me an opportunity to take over the class. And so again, super grateful for supportive administration who has really allowed us to grow our program. So.
Well, sounds like everybody's been lucky. And I've seen it. We got together on account of developing a teen court program, and your class, among the hundreds of classes I've been to, was such a positive place to walk into. And boy, I think you're frozen again, or is it me?
Oh, there you are again.
Oh,
I knew you would eventually come back.
Yes, I'm again unstable. Whew. Um, but in any event, I think that the energy in your room with your kids was just something special. You know, it lifts your spirits. I always love just walking into your classroom, you know, a few minutes before a teen court case, and the kids all had their job. It was smooth as silk. The jury box, the witness chairs, everything was just set out with all the right materials on the table, and everybody having a good time, smiling and doing it. During one of the deliberations, I talking to I think three of your kids, and I told them I thought we should go into business. And what's the business? I said, well, we're going to sell the good vibrations in this room. All we have
Oh.
to do is figure out how to bottle it. Now, one of your kids says, hey, let's just make a neat glass and we'll call it good vibrations and sell it. We don't have to sell it for a lot since it'll be empty.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, and tell us about the effect it's had on the culture. Do you see things getting to a point and plateauing, or do they continue to get better? Any obstacles that you face along the way as you've grown the program?
Our teen court program or our peer mediation program?
No, the peer mediation, what you have on campus.
Oh, okay, our peer mediation
Yes.
program.
Yes, your peer
Yeah.
mediation.
Yeah, so super grateful again, just to be able to see the growth and evolution. You know, we first started with a small class when, again, I moved to Olympian High School. We started with a group of about 19 students, one section, and that was in 2010, 2011 school year. And here we are, 2020, 21, having 6 sections, right? And so being able to kind of see that program continuously grow is fantastic. So I'm happy to see that continuous growth. You know, here we are in a pandemic, and it's been so challenging, of course, to replicate that magic, like you said, right? That magic in the bottle that we feel within the classroom walls. But I'm really trying my best, and I'm always checking in with the students, doing like a little vibe check. How are things going? And as challenging as it is to replicate that magic on screen, we're all trying to support each other, getting through this really difficult time of being quarantined, socially isolated, and things like that. But I'm happy to say that we're still able to feel like, even though we're not in the classroom physically together, we're still able to feel a little bit of that spark of magic, even though we're behind the screen. We're just like a support system to one another. So I haven't seen the program plateau, thankfully. You know, I think all electives are a little bit nervous looking into next school year, because the way that our programs grow is word of mouth by students, right? Talking to each other about, hey, these are the activities that we do. These are some of the events that we put on and host. And there's a lot of that social interaction, right? That really piques the interest of other students to enroll in the program. And we didn't have that this year, right? So I really, really hope that we can continue to keep this momentum going. But I'm just going to trust the process and, hope everything works out and that our numbers are still looking great and that we can continue, growing our program and growing our student leaders on campus, because it's definitely needed.
The one thing I've seen is if it's good, it goes. Usually on a campus, when I sit down and talk to the kids, there's 2 or 3 classes really in the whole campus that are, a place above. You really want to take this class with this teacher. And, once you get to there, I doubt you'll have any problem, because you deal with the sisters and cousins of your past students. And we lost each other again. Oh,
No worries, no worries.
well, okay. But you know what I like about how you just grew organically is that you got to develop a curriculum that made sense to you. Just was natural for you. And one of the things I'm always telling people is, here's this stuff. What works for you, take. What doesn't, forget about it. Because it's so much more art than science when you're talking about something, let's change the paradigm. Let's be transformative. We're not going to be punitive. We're going to say, hey, we got a problem here, and how can we solve it? It's just such a different approach. So many people, I think, are a bit dogmatic because the best program is the best program a teacher can teach. And I believe only the teacher knows what's the most saleable. I always, coming from business, I was always interested, we got a product, how do we sell it? And it's much more easily sold when you believe in the product. And you get the kids believing. See those little light bulbs go off. I love that. So how often do you're constantly changing, I presume? The curriculum is.
Yeah. I try to keep it as relevant to the students as possible. The content that I taught 5 years ago isn't exactly the same content that I teach today. And in fact, this year's peer mediation curriculum is starting from the ground up, right? Like, I think so many of us teachers felt this pressure as soon as we switched from in-person to online, this pressure to replicate what we were doing in the classroom. And that wasn't working because you're not in the classroom anymore. So I had to take that pressure off myself and say, I cannot replicate what we used to do in person. I need to recreate. And so this whole curriculum that I've been utilizing this year as we've been distance learning is totally focused around our wellness and surviving life in this pandemic. How can we take care of our mental and physical wellness so that when we come out of our quarantine caves, we come out better, right? Happier, healthier than who we were when we first entered this pandemic. So it's constantly evolving. I have to keep it relevant and useful to my students. Otherwise, what good is it, right? And so I try my very best to do that. Again, just to try to adapt to the times. What are some of the social issues that they're really struggling with? And what kind of tools and resources can I provide to them to help them work through that? I can't imagine the challenge that I would be experiencing if I was 15, 16, 17 years old and having to do an entire school year online with everything that was going on in my home environment. And so I'm just trying to, when I was their age, what's the kind of support and resources that I would like to receive from my school to help me survive and get through this difficult time. So that's what this year's content has been focused on.
That's beautiful. As usual, you're visionary. I keep a couple of months ago or 3 months ago or so, I kept hearing about the looming crisis of mental health issues and problems. And no, you've been working on this since the lockup began. I mean, I really feel like I've been in jail. I mean, I had my second shot a couple of weeks ago, so I'm starting to feel a little. But I mean, I really felt like I was in jail. I started a podcast, my God, me and these newfangled contraptions they call computers. I have I got hay fever to boot. The pollen is going crazy in my
Yes.
backyard. Um, yeah, we have uh, uh, an IT consultant, a young guy from Nairobi, Kenya, who I talk to I'll be talking to him tomorrow morning. He's a wonderful young guy. He's like 22. He's self-taught. And I went through 3 consultants, all who told me, oh yeah, I understand this system. And none of them did. And this guy told me he didn't understand my system. I said, well, you're hired. You're the first guy who tells the truth. Yeah, I'll pay you to learn it. And he's been great. But so along the way, have you had any obstacles, maybe a change in administration or certain teachers who took issue with what you were doing?
I feel lucky that with the changing of administration, because we've had a few different principals and assistant principals over the years since we started the peer mediation program, and we've been super fortunate that they all have been super supportive. They believe in the program. They really appreciate what the students are doing to improve our culture and climate on our campus. And so in that aspect, we feel super grateful. And we also have a staff that is also supportive as well. I won't lie to you and say 100% of our adults on campus are fully aware and understanding of what the peer mediation program is all about, because that's kind of the reality of things, right? Not all adults are open to the idea of hearing challenging student voices, not disrespectful, but saying, adults, this isn't quite working for us, right? There needs to be some sort of change in the way that we are being treated or change in our relationship. And I have had, unfortunately, over the years, student leaders who have brought up some real concerning issues about mistreatment, in terms of adult to student, in a respectful way, because I teach them to, because there's that power dynamic, right? But unfortunately, we've had some adult staff members on campus who misinterpret that as being disrespectful, right? I'm the adult, you're the student, I know better, right? You're too empowered, as one particular staff member said, which was really like, what? Like, we want our students to be empowered, right? And I truly feel that whenever we get pushback from an adult, it's really not about the student, it's about lack of understanding from that person, that particular adult perspective, right? What is it that you're fearing? What is it that's making you uncomfortable? And where is that stemming from, right? Is it a power issue? Is it an insecurity issue? Is it a classroom management issue that you've been struggling with and you don't know how to, again, include student voice and have these restorative conversations, right? Relationship building conversations. And so I think that's kind of been one of the issues that we faced in the past, when our students, again, feel empowered to say, you know what, I need to speak up when I see an injustice, right? If I'm being trained as a peer mediator to intervene when I see student to student mistreatment, whether it's on social media or at a football game or a dance or what have you, but I don't speak up when I see an adult doing that to a student, that doesn't make sense, right? That's not in line with our philosophy, right? We need to be upstanders and not bystanders when we see mistreatment, and it doesn't matter what age you are. And so that's just been something that we've kind of struggled with. And I think as a school community, we need to do a little bit more work around building positive adult to student relationships. So we don't feel threatened, right? We see it as a way of an opportunity to improve our relationships. So we certainly need to include more student voice on campus. and allow for a safe and comfortable and supportive space for us adults, right, to receive that feedback in a loving way, not in a way of attacking, but a way of embracing. Again, our students are telling us what they need from us, and it's our responsibility as adult professionals to respond to that need. And again, not feel threatened or attacked, but come from a place of love and support. But that's going to definitely take some time. I hope that that's something that we can work on as we begin to come back to school. Again, I want us to come back to better. I don't want to go back to normal, because if we're honest, there's a lot of unhealthy behaviors that a lot of our schools were operating, a lot of just things that were put into place that were not working well for our staff and students. So I really hope that we can use this opportunity to reset, to restructure, and improve on our relationships so that we can, again, come out of this stronger than we were on the other side.
That's wonderful. And that's the power of restorative work. I love, you always broaden my horizon. I have always thought of what you were talking about as trust. It occurred to me very quickly that if these kids didn't trust you, you were wasting your time. I mean, and theirs. And I was amazed to see how many teachers thought that they deserved to be trusted and respected because they're a teacher. And it just doesn't work that way. And excuse me. I was doing some gardening, bad mistake.
Oh no. Yeah, my husband gets terrible allergies too, so I get it.
I crawl around in the flowers, and it's in any event, but that trust is essential. And once you earn it, then, sky's the limit. You're talking about relevance. I mean, when I told the kids what I wanted them to do in a project, I'd pretty much get back what I expected. Be some good stuff and maybe not so good stuff. But if I gave them a concept and said, go for it, well, what do you want? I said, whatever you want. I just want you to communicate this idea. He says, well, I'm going to do a rap song. I said, great, wonderful. Well, I don't want to do rap. You don't have to do rap. But once you let them go,
yes,
they just blow me away all the time. Let them do something where they really can express themselves. And that's what I found to be the saving grace of my teaching experience. When I found this restorative stuff, it just all fed into that kind of atmosphere just so naturally. And I found myself not having to well, this kid isn't going to trust you tomorrow, but what can you do today to earn that trust? And just bit by bit, it without the restorative context and pattern, I'd have been lost. And the teachers that I see who have bought in, their lives are just so much better.
Right.
Right. So you're hopeful of when are your kids entering the classroom door?
Well, we're able to slowly start to welcome back some students on campus. Of course, we still have to go by the CDC guidelines. So we are welcoming about 10% of our student population beginning on Monday.
Wonderful.
So it'll be a small group, but nevertheless, at least some student life on campus. So Monday's the day that we'll have a small portion of our student population back.
Well, that's great. And I really want you to know how much I respect you. And, you are part of a dynamic duo. Viana's husband is involved in similar work at another high school and is equally as talented, but however, nowhere near as good looking.
Yeah, when
Uh,
I transferred to Olympian High School, I kind of passed the torch to him, and he took over the peer mediation class at Southwest High School and is just doing a fantastic job. His
he
students
is.
are amazing, and we try to like keep that bridge, formed, and we get a
Uh,
chance to do some leadership development with both of our peer mediation programs, and it's such a treat, right? Because we're on
yeah.
opposite sides of the freeway, so to speak, of that 805 divide.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome, again, to have student groups from different school communities come together and learn from each other and grow. So that's been a really, really great opportunity for us as well.
Well, give my best to you, Al. And hopefully, once you get started, let's check in a few months and see how the transition went. I'm curious to hear from a bunch of people about, sort of sad how a lot of these programs, especially like Teen Court, have just been devastated. But, she'll rise out of the ashes. And
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I know I was looking at some of our data from Teen Court, and our last case was the day before we had to close the school. So our last day was March 13th, and our last case was on March 12th. And my students are really missing Teen Court. I mean, we were on a roll. Like it took some time to build the program. And like you said, when you walked in the room and the students were like setting up the desks and they had their name tags and it's a process, right? We have a flow because they learned from the previous years, right? So the intro kids are watching the advance like Teen Court and they're learning and really inspired and fired up to like, once they graduate, we're going to be in their seats next, right? But nevertheless, we see it as a tremendous asset to our school community. I've been wanting to implement Teen Court for so many years. And I remember like in 2012, I was having a conversation. We were reading an article on restorative justice in Teen Court. And I remember telling the students, one day we're going to have something like this on campus. I don't know how. I'm going to ask a lot of questions and we'll see how it goes. And I remember asking Mariana Gomez about, hey, is there some sort of, because I was going to restorative justice trainings as a teacher, but there wasn't really anything out there for students. And I said, Mariana, is there something out there where we can train our students on these restorative justice practices? Because it's just so essential. If it's helping me as a professional, imagine them as student leaders. And that's how your name came up. And that's how we got at our school. It was just that conversation. She said, hey, I know someone, they've done Teen Court in, San Diego Unified. Do you want to be one of the 3 pilot schools? And I said, yes, let's do it. So I'm so happy that we have that integrated. And even though we've had to take this year pause, no doubt once we're back in session next school year, not this school year, but next school year, I know we're gonna, hit the ground running and get our program going again.
I'm very confident that be able to work something out. You guys are pretty much self-sufficient as it is. Just a little help with the criminal stuff, maybe, but in terms of the class, the district, or the site cases, you should be teaching other students or other teachers in the district if you get some time off of or if you can afford time off of your classroom. I don't know, but you are the bomb.
Thank you. And I really just want to thank you, Mr. Al. Our students lovingly, referred to as Mr. Al. And, over the years, and you've, come by to visit and interact with our students. And, that initial training that you gave to us back in, I think it was 2017. I think that was our January 2017, if I am going back and looking at my pictures of our training.
Wow.
Our first case was, so I just really want to thank you, because if it wasn't for you coming to help us get our teen court program, off and running in our districts, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking time out of your retirement, right? Of
Yeah.
coming to assist us and sharing your wisdom with us. And it's always such a treat when you come and visit, and we can't thank you enough for helping us bring teen court to our district and to our school. So I really want to thank you, Steve. Thank you so, so, so much from the bottom of our hearts for doing
It
the
is,
excellent work that you're doing.
believe me, it is my pleasure. There's nothing I love to see more than these kids involved, and making these and acting so professional and really using their thinking skills. It's just, everything we want to really teach them outside the, dotting the I's and crossing the T's is really all wound up in this work. I mean, we're going to take an holistic approach to education. You need to add, you need to subtract, but this is the stuff that really helps mold community and creates a wonderful environment. Just like your classroom, we got to bottle it, figure out how. We'll make a lot of money. Maybe we can get Dr. Oz to promote it for us.
Or Oprah. We love Oprah.
Okay. My wife does too. Oprah is her idol. Okay, well, thank you, Viana, and again, get my best to you out. Take care.
I will, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you again in person.
Well, me too. I just, as soon as the doors open, I'll be walking through it.
Yes. Yay. Can't wait. Say hello to your lovely wife as well. And you have another big anniversary coming up, right?
Well, it's not so big. It's 53.
Hey, that's great.
Well, yeah, but it's not like after 52, 53. Although it's wonderful. The kids look at me and they said, yeah, and I still really like her.
Oh, yes, yes. Congratulations to you both. And again,
thank you.
To seeing you both in person again. Take good care and can't wait to see you again.
Too. Bye-bye.